What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Aaron the Dog back with the first breakdown of this Wednesday. Happy 420 if you are participating, or if not, happy April 20th. Either way, PFL regular season starts today. I apologize for my voice, but we're going to power through it here. We are taking this LFA card, is taking place in Newtown, North Dakota, from the Four Bears Lodge Casino and Resort. Sounds like a very nice place to watch some fights. Headlined by Mariusz Ksiazkiewicz. It's a Polish guy from the Contenders series and unified super middleweight title holder, taking on Alessandro Gambulino in the main event. As usual, we got the main card that we're going to be breaking down here, and as always, my co-host for the LFA shows, Lucky Locks, picks himself. This video's up now. Go check that out right after this. But Lucky Locks, how you doing?
Doing great. We got a good card here from North Dakota. We got 6 fights on the main card this time, so an extra 1 or 2 than sometimes we normally get. So that's nice, and should be a fun card. I'm excited to get into it.
Names too, Aaron. What are you talking about? Alessandro Gambulino is how you say his name. So I'm 1-1 at worst, and Ksiazkiewicz is close enough. So whatever. I was watching an interview with Ksiazkiewicz earlier, and the guy didn't even try to say his last name. He just went, Mariusz is here with me. So, at least I tried. But if you're here for me to pronounce names right, I don't know why you're showing up here at this point. I'm excited to get into this card here. We've got 6 fights on the main card, and we're going to be able to break them all down here. And as usual, timestamps are available afterwards. Many in the chat, as always. The glove touch in there as well. Appreciate anybody joining us afterwards as well. This takes place on Friday, April 22nd. So good week of MMA. It starts tonight if you're watching this live. With the PFL, already got that on the channel. Hopefully, Lucky will get to join me for a few of those as they go on. But we're on the LFA here. We're starting in the 185 division, and we're ending there. Starting with a 3-0 Manitoba Lemire. I'm gonna go with I'll go with that. Taking on the 4-1 Daniel Gadley here. This is a appropriate opener. I'll say that. The Gladiator, now 33 years old, known as mostly a grappler, competed on the Submission Underground unsuccessful-, but I always like to see that, to be honest. I just think that's a good way to stay active when if you're not fighting. 4-1 in his MMA career for Daniel. His loss coming to John Simon by heel hook. Don't really know who that is, but that's okay. Lost his debut by knockout in the second round, but since then, 4 straight wins, 2 of them coming by short choke. Not a great level of competition. 0-3, 0-0, 6-38, 18-22. Jared Torgensen, he's taken on a few guys along the way. I was able to watch that fight. Daniel shot in on pretty lazy takedown attempt, took him down like kind of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu player goes for a takedown, to be honest. So his wrestling wasn't all that great. But he's definitely going to be looking to try to get this to the floor and take advantage of his opponent's weaknesses on his back. Manitoba, although he is cousins of Brian Ortega, they're going to mention that at least 10 times over under. He doesn't have the submission ability of Ortega. He's a good striker, 29 years old, decent size, decently built, I should put it here. Looks to mix up the wrestling with the takedowns with his strikes. Just hasn't faced a high level of competition at all. 0-0, 0-0, and 0-2. He's been up and down. He's been up to heavyweight. He's been down to middleweight. He's been at light heavyweight. It's kind of just all over the place here. Neither guy is spectacular. Lemire does have some experience against good competition, but losing that pretty quickly each time he's taken the step up. Nick Klein, not bad. Joel Bauman, we all know. Joe Bauman knocked him out in 26 seconds. And then Joshua Fleck, who's a decent wrestler. He's looked okay at times, was able to kind of control him. I just don't think Daniel Gadley has the wrestling to get this to where he needs to. But if he does, he definitely can submit his opponent. I'll go with Lemire here, but I mean, neither guy I'm running out to bet, to be honest with you, at any price. I think these guys are both pretty unknown. So go with Lemire here. Just I think he's going to be physically dominant, a little bit younger, and better on the feet.
Yeah, this should be a good fight to kick it off. We get the hometown guy, Manitoula Lemire, 3-0, has a home game here in North Dakota, and as an amateur, he was 6-3. Fought in an LFA 2 times during his amateur career. Had a fight against Joel Bauman as well, was defeated there, but was fighting good guys as an amateur. Anybody on the amateur circuit that had a loss, I'm pretty sure the combined opponent record for all his amateur fights was 19-0. So, basically all of his fights, what does he do? He comes forward, he's really aggressive, and he gets guys out of there quickly. Got power in his hands. We've also seen some good wrestling from him. Haven't really seen him tested that much as a pro, but like I said, I feel like the strength of schedule as an amateur was pretty good. I feel like he's got a little bit better experience than a lot of guys who would be at a similar point in their pro career. Gadley is 4-1 as a pro. He was 3-0 as an amateur. Also, this guy hasn't been fighting a high level of competition either. Combined opponent record for him as a pro is 25-63. He's only fought one guy that's had a winning record, and that was a 1-0 opponent who did defeat him there. But he is a really good grappler. Definitely, if he can get this into a position that he likes, definitely finish it. All his wins are submissions. He's finished every single one of his wins. Competed on submission underground, like you mentioned, but I just feel like Lemire gets this one done, man. I think that he's going to overpower him. Like you said, do you think he's going to be physically dominant? I agree with that. I think he's going to be big. I think he's going to be strong, and I think he's going to probably find a finish here.
Yeah, one thing I will say is that Lemire hasn't fought a ton. He's fought at middleweight at times, but he also has fought a lot heavier. That's a little concern for me. Also, one of the fights I saw from his amateur career that was available was the Isaiah Hempstead Washington fight, or one of his last amateur fights, and that was really unimpressive, honestly. And he slowed down, was taken down by the end by Isaiah. I do think if Daniel's able to take him down, I think Daniel can submit him. I really do, especially at this price. I really think it's either a dog or pass from a bet perspective. I will take Lemire too, but I'm not betting it. It's at -285 and rising, and I mean, a +225 on a submission, expert. I mean, he knows what he's going in there and trying to do in Daniel Gadley, and that's one of the biggest advantages I can say for him here. But I would officially go with Lemire as well, but I don't think Lemire is as good as he looks before you look into the tape. Like when I first opened it up and I looked at him, I was like, this guy looks like he could be kind of a problem, but you watch the fights more and hasn't been fighting. But again, Daniel hasn't either. I just, I will go with Lemire as well here. So we're going to agree here on the first fight here. Should be a good one though. I don't think the odds are representative of how close it could potentially be. We're staying in the middleweight division. A lot of three middleweight fights on this card here. And just getting the time down real quick. Sorry. But this fight is between Billy Elkanah and Coleman Scribner. Sorry. Coleman Scribner and Billy Elkanah. Billy Elkanah we'll recognize from his previous LFA fight with Jeff Nielsen. Just controlled the center really, really well in that fight, was so much physically dominant over his opponent, and just like he didn't blow his opponent away, but I mean, he looked really good in that. And I'll get to Billy in a second here, but Coleman Scribner, I've honestly liked what I've seen out of this guy a lot, actually. He has some pretty fun tape to go through and watch. I've really enjoyed watching it. Very hard hitter, a little smaller at 5'11", but definitely closes the distance well. I think he's used to being the smaller opponent. He's very, very strong. Still only 26 years old, three fight winning streaks since dropping his debut fight to Austin Jones, who, yes, he was 3-4 at the time, but former Nebraska running back, a super impressive athlete. And I mean, there's some pretty crazy strikes that put Coleman away in that fight. It was quite a war, and that was his debut. Gone on to win 3 straight since then. Not great competition, but putting those guys away pretty quickly all in the first round. Pete Keepers, the most recent one. 1-3, 5-5, and 0-0. On the amateur circuit, I think one thing I can say that's a huge positive. Ton of tape available. I was able to watch the Tower Robinson fight. Got a 3rd round knockout there, which was good. Good ground and pound, decent wrestling. I mean, I've liked a lot of what I've seen. It's just not a crazy level of competition. Billy definitely has the advantage there. He looked pretty good against Jeff Nielsen, who was, I think, a tricky opponent for, even though Jeff Nielsen was making his debut. I'd like to see Jeff Nielsen at welterweight, though. It was just the fact that Billy was just too big and physical for Jeff to really cause much of a problem there. But Jeff had some good experience with Bellator and LFA as an amateur there. So it was an 0-0 fight, but kind of a misleading 0-0. Somewhat of a knockout against Starling Simmons and submitted Rayvon Baxter in his debut there. Win over Sullivan Cauley. That's a huge, huge plus. The Brian Battle win with Tough Enough, getting some really good experience there. And then the draw with Ty Gorder just really seemed to test himself throughout his amateur career, and it seems to be paying off here. I wasn't super blown away with him by him against Jeff Nielsen. Like I said, it was his LFA debut. I expect him to look much more comfortable here. I do think Coleman Scribner is a very dangerous opponent, though. So I'm interested to see Billy's kind of approach here. I expect him to use a little more grappling than in the last fight, just because I do think Coleman is legit dangerous on the feet and can put him away. I'm tempted to go with Coleman Scribner in this spot. The thing that's holding me back is the level of competition he's faced overall and the size advantage, I think, for Billy, which he seems to have pretty consistently. Just a very well put together middleweight. I'm edging towards Billy, but I'm very tempted in Coleman Scribner. So I'm kind of interested in your thoughts and if you kind of are seeing any of these threats from Coleman, or if I'm kind of blowing the sky up a little too much.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll tell you what, you're correct about a couple of things. I mean, he is powerful, he is explosive, and he is really dangerous early. The one thing for me, I feel he can be a little bit reckless at certain points, but he's also still young. He's 3-1. He's got a 100% finish rate. The competition level, though, also another thing that I know is not really the highest level of competition. Hasn't fought anybody that has had a winning record in his 4 pro appearances. And Billy Alicana, on the other hand, I feel like has looked quite good. 3-0 prospect, 26 years old. And you mentioned the size as well. Like, he's big. 6'3", 76.5-inch reach. Saw him in LFA 120 where he won a decision in his pro debut. He was 6-1-1 as an amateur. Beat Brian Battle, beat Sullivan Cauley, majority draw with Ty Guerder. Just I feel like really good experience for a 3-0 fighter, and I think Alicana is just a little bit more technical. He's going to be bigger. I think that Scribner, definitely the danger is going to be there early. A little sweaty earlier in the fight, but I just think Alicana overall just has the upper hand in this matchup, in my opinion.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the recklessness is part of what makes me a little tempted to take Coleman. I think it would have to come very early. I do think as the minutes go on, the advantage is going to go Alicana more and more. And I mean, he looks legit. I mean, he really does look like he could be a really good, kind of prospect as time goes on. They're going to mention he got stabbed in the back when he was 19 years old, so he's really tough as well. I mean, you always like an MMA player who can survive a stabbing, the Blagoy Ivanov route of things, if you will. But yeah, Billy, he's a -325 favorite. It's a little bit tough for me, but I think you're pretty comfortable with this past the 3 to 4 minute mark, to be honest with you. Even the 3rd round knockout as an amateur came with 3-minute rounds. So that was really a 2nd round knockout, essentially, with 2 breaks. So just, but I'm going to be upset if Coleman wins and I didn't bet it, because It would, but it wouldn't surprise me if he knocked out Billy early. It really wouldn't. But again, I think the Sullivan Collie fight, especially, I mean, and Brian Battle, both those fights are aging better and better by the moment. So, should be a good one here. But yeah, I'm interested to see how Coleman looks here in his debut. Should be fun. I'm going to move on to the next fight here, and this is one of my favorite guys in LFA. I was super bummed by how he looked against Bruno Assis, and it caused me to pick Bruno Assis against Ozzy Diaz. I'm going to blame Jalen the Gentleman Fuller for all of that. It's not my fault. But I really like Jalen Fuller out of Duke's MMA. Just really just a great kind of personality. I know that's not the thing you come to a breakdown show for, but he has a really good attitude. He's one of these guys who's kind of been stuck between 185 and 170. I think that he's accepted that to be a professional fighter, you're going to have to be a little bit uncomfortable. And that means dieting a lot more. I think keeping his weight in check, keeping his weight aware, not getting over 200 pounds. These are all things he brought up in his interview recently that I was able to watch. And, I do like that he's making it to the 170 division. I think that at 185, he was he's very powerful, very good fighter. We saw him against Milos Amos and others, he looked good in Miles Amos. I always do that to Miles, his name. And then he went down to 170 for the Treston Vines fight. He looked like he was in good shape, but definitely looked depleted in that fight. He got the finish though in the first round. Moved back up against Bruno Assis, and Bruno Assis in there was just so much bigger than Jalen that, while Jalen made it to the decision, looked good at points, he did kind of just get outsized and out physical in that fight. I think he is very aware he's not a 185er now. Back down at 170 here, so looks to be in good shape. I mean, 2 weeks ahead of the fight, he was showing off his conditioning already, so looks like the 170 cut shouldn't be a problem for him there. Going up against the guy in Gage, Saunders here, who this guy is just he's kind of a bizarre fighter. Formerly nicknamed the Nature Boy, now called the Gangly Gangster. He's definitely a personality. He has a win on the amateur circuit against Hunter Azur at 155 in a fight where Hunter, I think it was like a second or third fight ever, and Hunter came out, got the takedowns, and Hunter does what Hunter does. He gasses out and then gave up his neck to like a side triangle choke by Gage Saunders. Gage is a finisher. That's one of the things I definitely can say about him. He's really a killer be killed type of guy. He's on a 3-fight win streak, hasn't fought since November, not facing a high level of competition at all. 2-3, 6-3, Jake Sebastian, and then an 0-2 Danny Shine, who took the fight on short notice after Nick Tomlinson, who's now a professional boxer, pulled out of the fight. So, the losses, Kyle Frost is a very good fighter who I don't know what happened to Kyle Frost. I wish he would come back into MMA because he was kind of on a roll before he just disappeared like 3 years ago. But got ready to get choked in that fight. No real shame there. Decent guy there. Then got finished by William Dunkel, who I've not heard of. Montel Williams, not a bad fighter either. He's a grinder. He's a veteran. He's been around for quite a while now. I think he's going to get pretty ran through here by Jalen Fuller, though. I expect Jalen Fuller to get back to his finishing ways here. I think Jalen's going to have a significant size advantage, significant striking advantage. Gage has been put away before, and I just think unless Jalen just has a disastrous weight cut and comes in terrible condition, I don't see how Gage takes this fight. Jalen all day for me, first round finish, TKO.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste too much time here because I feel pretty similarly to you, as you probably guessed. Coming in here, Jalen Fuller, we kind of know what to get out of him at this point. He's a great striker. He's a knockout artist. He puts guys out. He's a decent sniper. He's long. He's rangy. He's a regular in LFA. We've seen him a bunch of times. He's just got his first ever career loss as a pro against Bruno Assis last time. And now he's back at 170 pounds. So he has had trouble on the scales for this weight class in the past. He's had some big misses. But, he's a big guy. And like you said, he seems like he's trying to get that under control a little bit better, and definitely feeling good, looking good coming into this fight, which is a really good sign. Coming up against Gage Saunders, who has had a lot of experience, 8-3 as an amateur, 8-4 as a pro. He lost 3 straight, now won 3 straight coming into this fight. Not really the highest level guys, but he is getting guys out of there, 75% finish rate. He's been dangerous on the ground before. He's got 4 submissions, but I just don't really think it's quite at the level where it's going to be that big of a threat to Fuller. I think that Jalen Fuller is going to get this one done as long as he makes the weight and is feeling good. I think he's just a better all-around fighter here. I think he can get what he wants in the feed, and I don't think he's going to have too much trouble with any grappling threat either.
Yeah, this is kind of more of a throwback LFA card with regards to the odds. So on an LFA card where you got a lot of minus 300s already, Jalen Fuller at minus 350 looks like the best bet so far for my favorites. I get it. He's coming off that loss to Bruno Assis. I think Bruno Assis is a decent guy. Obviously, he got knocked out by Ozzy, but that was a good fight. Yeah, I really like Jalen here. I'd be quite surprised if he drops this one. So, go ahead and give me Jalen. And I think I'll look for a couple pieces to parlay with Jalen from the PFL card tonight and from the Bellator card most likely. Now we're at the strawweight women's unofficial Grand Prix section of the card, I guess you can call this. We're gonna let's get the time there. There we go. And this fight is at 115, the first of 2, and I think the better of the 2. So it's kind of weird the order. Tiani Valley taking on Hillary Rose Valley out of Extreme Couture. She's had her LFA debut last time out. That came up on the short end, but 3-3 overall for T-Bomb, taking on Hillary Rose, a staple on the regional MMA scene. She's been definitely kind of one of those girls who's been almost at the spot a couple times and just lost to some pretty decent level of competition. 5-4 though, so 3-3 versus 5-4. This is what you're getting here. 27 years old for Valley here, lost 2 straight. Like I said, last fought with LFA. That was in May of last year. She's a decent size, hits decently for the division. Had a finish of Andy Nguyen and Nirvana Coleman, a 1-4 opponent coming in. Then just as Brittany Cloudy, I get it, she was 0-1, but Brittany Cloudy, a pretty physical fighter with LXF, got the rear naked choke in the 3rd round of a very good competitive fight there on the feet. Tiani definitely was competing and then got finished by. She's been finished by rear naked choke in all 3 of her losses. Carrie Taylor Melendez, Brittany Cloudy, and Catherine Paparaki. All, decent level of opponents, honestly, and not what she has to worry about here in this fight with the kickboxer and Hillary Rose. Hillary Rose is 5-4. I think these 2 are going to battle on the feet. Mostly, I don't expect this to go to the ground, especially from Hillary's side. 5-4, also on 2 straight, also losing 2 straight here. Fought more recently in February with LFA. Got the loss against Ashley Nichols, who was just a much larger opponent out of Canada in that fight. Mixed it up. That's what you got to do with her, is you got to mix it up, make her compete in both the grappling and the stand-up. I do like Tiani Valley in this spot. I like her training partners, and I like her power to be able to, if one of these 2 is going to mix it up, it's more likely going to be Tiani Valley. And I just think for Hillary Rose, she can definitely kind of out technique her opponent to a decision on the feet. It wouldn't surprise me at all, but Tiani Valley is my spot, my choice here.
Yeah, so I got to give Hillary Rose a bit of credit because pretty much every time she comes out, it seems like she's trying to get the toughest fight she can find. Pretty much all the fights that she takes are some of the top strawweights that we have on the regional scene currently. And on the feet, she is really quick. She gets in and out well, and she's definitely been improving that aspect of her game over time. She's got a good grappling skill set as well. She's got a lot of submissions. She's definitely a threat there. She has an 80% finish rate with a 5-4 record, so she's finishing a lot of fights. But Tiani Valley just brings a lot of power at 115, and she has really crisp combinations, good boxing. The the worry with her for me is that she has been a liability on the mat in the past. I mean, every single one of her losses has been by rear naked choke. I mean, they have been good opponents, though, pretty much every time that she's lost. But it is always just a little bit scary when you do see someone losing that way every single time. But she will have some size in this matchup, I feel like, that could help her keep this one standing. So I'm not too worried about. I just don't really think Hillary Rose is going to be able to take her down that often. But if she does find her way into a dominant position, I think that could be trouble. But I just don't really see her getting there at a very high clip. Valley has, a lot of experience as an amateur as well. She beat Sam Hughes as an amateur, had an 8-2 career there. 100% finish rate as a pro, 3 wins, all knockouts. And I think that the power is just going to be the big X factor in this fight on the feet. I see them striking for the majority of this fight, and I just feel like, Valley's got that game changer in her hands. So I think if she can keep the standing for the majority of the time, she's going to be able to win a striking match here. So, I'm going to lean towards the dog Valley in this one. I
just want to clarify because I got my notes crossed up there. Hillary is the one who's more likely to take this ground. So apologize for mixing that up there. Tiani is much more with the power. I agree. And this is my first dog of the night. We're going to agree on it as well. I was surprised, but I think it's close, and plus 125 I think is a pretty good number to get on a 50-50 bout here at strawweight that I think is going to be on the feet. And I give Tiani the edge significantly in the power. I like that she's training over Extreme Couture as well. I think those are things that are very, good positives. But Hillary Rose, Ashley Nichols is not a normal 3-3 at all. But I kind of don't think Tiani Valley is either. I think they're two of the better. I know, it's not a huge accolade, but two of the better 3-3 fighters you're going to see out there in this division, especially. So I know it's not a crazy accolade, but I do think Tiani's better than her record states. But I think Hillary is too. So it's a tough one there. I think it's one of the closest fights of the night, if not the closest besides the main event. Next fight is continuing the strawweight unofficial Grand Prix. We got Mariusz Man, also known as the Sawed-Off Savage, taking on, which is probably means that she doesn't have very long arms, I would assume, taking on Kelsey Arneson, 1-1 fighter here, fighting in the co-main event. At strawweight, weird order to things, but it is what it is. Kelsey out of Trials MMA and Fitness, that's the home of Michael Stack and others. She's 1-0 coming off of a knockout win, so that's great. Otherwise, there's not a whole lot to find on Kelsey. Made her debut in October on the prelims against an 0-1 Brittany Camozzi and got a third-round knockout. And that was enough for her to be on the co-main event of an LFA card, I guess. Went to a decision with Tabitha Ricci in her debut. If I remember correctly, never really was threatening Tabitha in that fight. And just, but not getting finished by Tabitha is a positive. She's a very good jiu-jitsu practitioner. Had a decision win in her one amateur fight. Kelsey is the striker. Mariusz Man is the grappler. Kelsey is going to be the longer of the two opponents. Mariusz Man is a shorter strawweight, but she's definitely very aggressive and strong. She's a finisher, 8 straight wins going back to her amateur career. The Paulina Macias fight, she got the triangle stoppage in, which was impressive win for her for sure. It was on the friend card last year as a knockout and a couple corner and doctor stoppages. Hasn't faced a crazy level of competition, but Pauline Macias definitely higher level than either fighter, highest level on either fighter's record. Finished 3 of her 4 fights as an amateur. Mariusz Man, I would think, would be the aggressive fighter. Look to push this to getting to the mat. Maybe close the distance with the striking to get pressure on the cage and get the takedowns. I think Mariusz Man should be pretty dominant here, but maybe she overexerts herself and Kelsey can use her gas, training at altitude. Maybe could be an advantage here and strike her up, but I'll take Mariusz Man here.
Yeah, so we got the second strawweight fight of the night here in the co-main. And Arneson, training at Trials MMA Fitness, like you mentioned, fought her 2 pro fights that she has, both on LFA, and debuted against Tabitha Ricci and went the distance. And, you know, you don't really want to say, like, congrats, you survived, like, what an accomplishment. But, I mean, really, Tabitha Ricci, you would expect her to submit all of these fighters that she's fighting at this level early, which she did to the other 2 that she fought before going to the UFC. So it has aged pretty well, actually. And then she won her next fight with a finish in the 3rd round. You like to see that as well. She's got a 1-1 record, good win last time out. But Marnik Man, I mean, that's a pretty big step up in my opinion. We got a girl in Marnik Man who was 4-0 as an amateur, 4-0 as a pro now, finished every single one of her pro fights, strawweight champ in Fusion Fight League, and she finished Pauline Macias last fight in her LFA debut. I feel like that's a really good win for this point in her career, because obviously she hadn't really fought anybody with, you know, her resume wasn't amazing coming into that fight, and she really proved herself and showed me something in that last fight. Personally, she's going to be the younger fighter in this one, about 5 or 6 years younger, and she is small. You know, the sawed-off savage. She's 5 foot with a 63.5-inch reach, but she's really athletic and she's aggressive. And you know, the size advantage doesn't really factor into play that much when you're on the ground, right? So I feel like I agree with you. She's going to be the aggressive one, trying to push this one to get it to the ground. And I feel like Marnik Man, just to step up. I think that she's in the strawweight title conversation with another 1 or 2 good wins in the LFA. And my thing is, I feel like if you can finish Pauline Macias, then you can beat Kelly Arneson in this spot. You know, Man's a big favorite, and I think mostly it's deserved.
Yeah, Man minus 280 plus 220 on Kelsey here. I think that probably the winner of the Rose and Valley fight fights Man. I'm not sure if there is there currently a strawweight champion in LFA.
I want to say it's vacant. It's so hard to keep track because they get vacant.
There's been a very successful line of strawweight champions, because every time there becomes one, they sign with the UFC. Lupita, Vanessa Demopoulos, and others. So I would expect that the winner of I actually do think this is a Grand Prix, and the winner of these 2 fights ends up fighting each other for the strawweight title. Then the winner of that gets signed with the UFC.
Setting up for, definitely.
Yeah. So honestly, I don't know enough about Kelsey, but I really do respect and like the other 3 3 competitors here, and Man, Rose, and Valley. So I'm pretty excited actually for those fights. I think LFA does a really good job with their women's divisions. When you look at something like Bellator, that is hardly a step up, and they're a large organization. It's kind of amazing. But we're on to the main event of the night. This is at 185, and this is a very good fight. Might not be able to say the guy's name's great, but I'm very excited for this fight here. And there we go. Between Mariusz Ksiazkiewicz, or the Polish one, versus Alessandro Gambulino, which I still stand by I'm saying correctly. The Brazilian grappler here. Both these guys about 32 and a half years old, 12-3 against 9-1. Alessandro, I'll break down first here. He is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappler. I was able to find tape of him doing beach wrestling as well. So that was a fun watch. What that definitely tells me is that this guy is he's a competitor. He competes in a lot of different. He competes in grappling, competes in beach wrestling and MMA. Been pretty successful at 12-3 as well. Coming off the win against Oliveira, that I was able to watch. Quick finish in under 2 minutes, 1:20. Rear naked choke there. Has quite a few submissions on his resume. Definitely a grappler. He's been finished by KO in his losses. The Wilker Lemos fight with Jungle Fights. And then I was able to watch a Rodrigo Caballero fight. Rodrigo came in that fight. He was 36 years old. Definitely older, a little bit undersized, but the old man power came through there. And that's the way you get to Alessandro, is you crack him. He's looking to get the fight to the ground and uses grappling early and often. And he's had a lot of success with it in the past. But definitely hard hitters with good takedown defense, I think, are going to give him a lot of trouble. And Mariusz definitely is one of those guys. I actually really enjoyed watching this guy's tape. He had a very fun fight on the Contender Series I remember picking him for that fight, actually. Out of Canada, the Iron Pole is 9-1, 32 years old as well, 6'3". He's going to have a size advantage and he's going to have a reach advantage in this fight. Both guys. Mariusz has fought at light heavyweight, so I think he will have the size advantage as well. But yeah, Winnipeg Academy of Mixed Martial Arts had a really good performance in the Unified MMA Super middleweight title fight, where that was at 195, knocked out his opponent there. Really nice knockout there. Sits down on his shots really well. He has good grappling as well. Showed that against Mario Souza. I thought it was a very, very close fight. Souza has gone on to be signed with the UFC. I'm maybe a little too biased, but I thought that Mariusz won that fight. But yeah, he's got good. He's really able to hold position well and set up his ground and pound really, really well as well. I like a lot of what I see on this guy. He comes in good shape often. He's a tall striker. Sits down on his strikes, especially when he's not afraid of being taken down. I don't think Alessandro's got the takedown game needed here. I think this is Mariusz all day. And I think he puts him away, but with one of those clean lefts, throws really, really nice long left strikes. And that's how you take advantage of Alessandro. As long as he avoids the ground and the grappling, he should cruise.
Yeah, so for Mariusz, I mean, he's been on the Canadian regionals for a long time now, and finally got his chance in Contender Series end of 2020. Lost the decision to Mario Souza there. Pretty close fight, and you definitely could make the argument that he won that one. He then has his fight scheduled about 8 months later. He's supposed to fight Joel Bauman. Doesn't happen, so he ends up fighting for the 195-pound belt in Unified MMA about 4 months later, and he wins that fight with a knockout in the first. And overall, this guy finishes a lot of guys. He's got an 89% finish rate. He's never been finished himself. Really durable guy in the feet. I mean, we saw him take some punishment in the early part of the second round, especially of that Mario Souza fight, and he was able to get through that and ended up still getting the takedown actually after getting him in the clinch after. He's got good power on the feet, and he's also a black belt. He's got 5 submissions. Top game is good. His guard game is good. He's dangerous from the top or the bottom. Coming up against Gambulino here, who's also been in this game for a long time, and he had a good start to his career early, started off 8-1, ended up taking a pretty big step up in competition in his debut on Brave, and he was finishing the first round there. But since being back in Brazil, he's 3-1 in his last 4. The one loss was against Wilker Lemos, like you mentioned, on Jungle Fight, who was the champ at the time. And he fights a lot at welterweight, and he's taking this fight at 185 and against a guy who's a pretty big 185er who's been at 205 before, who just fought his last fight at 195 at that like super middleweight division. And yeah, man, Gambulino striking, I wasn't, super impressed with a lot that he had to offer there. Obviously he'd much prefer to be on the mat. But the thing about being on the mat here is you're with Mariusz, who's a black belt and who has a bunch of submissions himself. But, definitely Gambulino, very dangerous on the mat, 7 submissions. I feel like sometimes he can be a little bit too comfortable to stay on his back and just kind of hunt submissions there. I don't really like that too much, but definitely he is dangerous there, and it's worked for him in the past. But yeah, man, I think that Mariusz having that black belt, having the good top game can keep him safe there. And obviously the size is going to help as well. I think he'll have some size. Yeah, I think Mariusz is going to be better on the feet. I like his power. I think he's very durable because Gambulino does seem to have some decent power. He wings some crazy shots, but if they do land, they're going to land hard. But yeah, I like the durability of Ksiazkiewicz, and I think on the ground he can stay safe with the jiu-jitsu. So I like Mariusz.
Yeah, the other thing is with Gambulino, very looping shots. The shots take a lot longer to get there. Mariusz is straight to and quick with his shots. So I think he's the quicker, longer striker here. This is a tough one. I agree with the odds, honestly. I was hoping this would be a little closer, but no, minus 350, plus 275 on Gambulino, minus 350 on Mariusz. Yeah, for me, I think that, I think it's a night where the favorites really do roll for the most part, though. The Valley Rose fight is the closest line, and that is, I think, the closest fight for a reason. That is the only dog that we're going with. We agree on all the fights, don't we? All 6. Yeah. So that, I'm not saying that's going to guarantee success anybody, but in general, when Lucky and I agree on LFA fights, we tend to do pretty well. Went 5 of 6 last week. In general, we're going well above 60% on LFA picks right now. I feel like this is another card where you can parlay it up, do 2 to 3 parlays, and just go ahead and take the bank on with the rest of the week. Hopefully we start out strong with the PFL. The only other underdog who I'm a little bit tempted in is Coleman Scribner, which again, I might be on that island again, and I'm probably going to leave it alone. But if he wins and I don't bet it, you will be hearing about it next week. So beware. But that's going to do it. I don't know if they've been from Newtown, North Dakota before, but if not, it's a new town for the LFA. But that is going to do it for the LFA 130 show. And Kelly, real quick, how confident am I? I don't know about you. I'm confident in Rob Wilkinson today against Bruce Sauto. How do you feel about that fight, Lucky, real quick before we leave?
I actually haven't looked into that one too closely. Just like off the cuff, I was going to favor Rob Wilkinson, actually. And I'm not just saying that. I actually was. Soto is good. And I mean, I've liked what I've seen from him on LFA.
That flying knee was pretty misleading, though, that he ended that fight with. It was not really a flying. It was like a hopping knee.
Yeah.
And Kelly is extremely invested. Hey, you know what? It is what it is, man. I feel like he's really looking pretty motivated here. I think Rob Wilkinson's going to do pretty well tonight. I think he takes Sauto out. So don't worry about it, or worry about it, Kelly. But I mean, it's a closely lined fight. But I do think that Wilkinson's the better side. Should be a good PFL series tonight. Otherwise. Gonna get ready to go with the UFC show with Lewis of Northern MMA here in about 20 to 30 minutes. And go ahead. You can hold me to it, Kelly. I don't care. It's all on tape here. I stand by all my picks. And, if I'm wrong, I'll always admit it. So, I just letting you know, I bet Carlston Harris against Shavkat Rakhmonov. So it's my worst bet of the year. So I will always admit when I make a mistake. So rest in peace, Carlston Harris. Enjoy your day, everybody. Happy 420. I'll see you in 20, 30 minutes for the UFC show. Peace out. Appreciate you.